Last year, I got a phone call from Lori Gaikowski, the executive director of the Wessington Springs, South Dakota Chamber of Commerce. Her mother loves to watch Prairie Yard Garden and encouraged her to call and let me know about the Shakespeare Garden in Wessington Springs. Well, I am so grateful to both Lori and her mom as we have a chance to see and find out all about the Shakespeare Garden. First, we visit with Susan Arnott, who will tell us the history. Thanks, Susan.
Welcome to Shakespeare Garden. We are thrilled to have you come here and visit us.
Now, tell us about your background.
This garden is an old garden. It started in 1927. It was part of Wessington Springs College, which was here for about 80 years before it closed in 1964. It stayed open as a high school for another 4 years, so it really closed in 1968. But this garden started in 1927. The idea in 1926, when one of the English professors here, Emma Shea, went to England. She wanted to see the homes of the British authors, and she went by herself. She was in her 60s and was in England for the summer of 1926, and when she came home, she wanted to start a Shakespeare Garden here in Wessington Springs, and the powers that be at the college gave her this hillside. Emma and Clark Shea were people her parents were part of the founding of Wessington Springs College. She was a professor here in her young years, and so was Clark Shea. Her name was Emma Freeland at that time, and in the 1890s they were here. Then they left, went to Seattle, met there again, and married in Seattle. And in their later years, after teaching in colleges through the U.S., they came back here and worked at Wessington Springs College, which was Wessington Springs Seminary until about the 1920s. She was an English professor. He was a science professor, and she was really interested in English literature.
So how did they actually start the gardens?
In 1927, on Shakespeare's birthday, that was the sort of the founding day, we call it, of this Shakespeare Garden. The college students, the seminary students at that time, they helped start and do all the work of getting this garden started. The garden actually started on the other side. This is the newer part of the garden. All of it was during her lifetime, but they started with the north side of the garden. As years went on, they added this south part.
About how many students came to school here?
You know, that is a good question, and I would say there were different numbers of students through the years, but maybe the heyday might have been the 30s and the 40s. But then again, there were a lot of kids here, probably maybe 40 high school kids or 50 during the 60s, the last years of the school. And college students maybe 20 to 30.
Why was it discontinued?
The reason, I think, is the cost of things. There were 3 big buildings and other buildings too that had to be maintained, and they were old buildings, and there wasn't a lot of money for any of it. I think a lot of the faculty were almost missionaries here for a long time, coming here because Wessington Springs was founded in 1882, and the college started in 1887, the seminary, as it were, and it was the only high school place you would go after grade school in this town until the high school started in about around the 1910. So if anybody was going to go to high school, here's where they came. And I think these people came from the East Coast. They were really wonderful people, really well-educated people who were teaching at this school, including the Shays.
So was there kind of a specialty that the college was known for?
Teaching was one of them. There was, in fact, early on, a model school. It was called a model school, and it was an elementary school for children that the teachers would be able to teach, the teaching students. And back, like, say, in the 40s, you could become a teacher without much school. You didn't have to go to 2 years of school. I believe there was even a several-month course that you could take here. That was one thing. A lot of Free Methodist pastors came through here, and several missionaries started out here, and Mrs. Shea had herself wanted to be a missionary, but she did this instead, and I would say she was successful in her wish to be a missionary. Yeah.
Are any of the buildings from the college left here?
No. All of the buildings were demolished in the early 1970s. This place closed in '68, and the buildings were just kind of here and needed to be torn down, really. And so they're all gone. all the buildings. All the buildings stood right where all that yellow housing is, right there, and they all faced College Avenue. There was a gymnasium, there was a girls' dorm, a women's dorm, there was a boys' dorm, there was an administration building, and there was a chapel, and there was even a barn because they even had a little, did milking and did horsemanship classes and so on for some years of this existence. This was a junior college, and there was another junior college sponsored by the Free Methodist Church in McPherson, Kansas, and that school was sort of a sister school, and the records went to that school, so they are still in existence. There are quite a few. There have been a lot of alumni through the years. Now all the alumni are in their 70s, and so there have been reunions here. So we've had about 3 or 4 really wonderful reunions here for the college students.
Do you ever get people stopping in town that went to school
Yes.
here?
Yes, a lot of them. A lot of people make a pilgrimage. I think that's how they feel. They really loved it here. This has really been a wonderful place at the foot of these hills, you know, and people, a lot of them could go back into the hills for hiking and things, and so yeah, they loved it. People who went here loved this place.